My name is Michelle, and this is my project over violent versus nonviolent protest and revolution. This project will examine how people have fought for social, political, and economic change through peaceful methods like marches, boycotts, sit ins, and civil disobedience, as well as violent resistance and revolution. This presentation compares the approach using the ideas of philosophers, the civil rights movement, and other historical revolutions to evaluate their effectiveness and ethical implications. It concludes by determining which method is more effective and morally justifiable based on philosophical reasoning and historical evidence. In this slide of the project, we have the timeline. First, we'll start with 375 BCE, Plato the Republic, then 335 and 223 BCE, Aristotle Politics. Then we'll go to 1513 Machiavelli, then 1640 Hobbes, 1680 Locke, 1960 Fanon, 1909 Gandhi, and 1963 Martin Luther King Jr. Starting off with our first philosopher, Plato, he believed that society works best when everyone performs the role they are naturally suited under the guidance of wise philosophers slash kings. Plato did not support uprisings because he believed that they created disorder and instability. Instead, he believed lasting change should come from education, wisdom, and moral leadership rather than force. Plato implemented change through education and philosophical reasoning instead of political revolution. He founded the academy to teach future leaders and encourage thoughtful government. Although his ideal state was never fully established, his ideas greatly influenced political philosophy and continue to shape discussions about justice, leadership, and government today. Moving on to 335 and 323 BCE Aristotle politics, he recognized that revolutions happen when government becomes unfair or unequal. He believed violence could sometimes occur because of injustice, but preferred preventing revolutions by creating fair laws and balanced governments. Aristotle argued that rulers should address citizens' concerns before conflict became necessary. Aristotle encouraged political reform through reason, moderation, and good laws rather than violent rebellion. His teachings influenced later democratic governments and constitutional systems. While his ideas did not stop revolutions throughout history, they remain important foundations for modern political thought and stable government. In the 1513 The Prince by Machiavelli, he believed that rulers should do whatever was necessary to gain and keep political power. If violence protected the state or prevented greater disorder, he believed it could be justified. Unlike many philosophers, he focused more on practical results than on morality. He observed political leaders rather than leading a movement himself. His advice encouraged rulers to act decisively. Although many criticized his ideas as ruthless, The Prince became one of history's most influential political works and continues to be studied for its realistic view of politics. In the 1640s, Hobbes believed people are naturally driven by fear and self interest. Without a strong government, society would fall into constant conflict. Because of this, he strongly opposed violent revolution and believed citizens should obey their ruler to maintain peace and security, even if the ruler was imperfect. Hobbes promoted his ideas after witnessing the English Civil War. His argument for a powerful central government influenced political theory around the world. Although many later philosophers disagreed with his support for absolute authority, his work remains highly influential in discussions about government and social order. In 1680, John Locke believed that governments exist to protect people's natural rights to life, liberty, and property. If a government becomes tyrannical, it violates those rights. Citizens have the right to overthrow it. Although revolution may involve violence, Locke viewed it as a last resort after peaceful solutions have failed. He spread his ideas through philosophy rather than direct actions. His writings strongly influenced American Revolution and democratic governments around the world. His belief in individual rights and the right to resist tyranny has made a lasting and successful impact on modern democracy. In 1960, Finn and France argued that violence was often necessary for colonized people to gain freedom from oppressive colonial powers. He believed colonialism itself was built on violence, making violent resistance an unavoidable path towards liberation and dignity. Fanon supported Algerian independence from French colonial rule through his writings and involvement in the independence movement. Algeria eventually gained independence in 1962, making the revolution successful politically. However, violence caused significant suffering and long term challenges, making his ideas both influential and controversial. In 1909, Gonley firmly rejected violence and believed that nonviolent resistance was most effective and moral way to achieve justice. He argued that peaceful protest, civil disobedience, and personal sacrifice could defeat oppression without creating a world of hatred or revenge. Gandhi organized peaceful protests, boycotts, marches, and acts of civil disobedience against British rule in India. His leadership inspired millions and played a major role in India's independence in 1947. Although violence occurred during the partition of India, Gandhi's nonviolent movement remains one of history's most successful examples of peaceful resistance. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. wrote Why We Can't Wait. He believed that nonviolent protest was the most powerful way to challenge injustice. He argued that peaceful disobedience and moral courage could expose injustice while maintaining human dignity. He rejected violence because he believed it created more hatred and delayed true justice. He organized peaceful marches, boycotts, and speeches during the American Civil Rights Movement. His leadership helped achieve major victories, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. While racial inequality still exists, King's nonviolent movement successfully changed laws and transformed American society. The philosophers discussed had different views on violent and nonviolent protests. Plato, Aristotle, Hobbes, Gandhi, and Martin Luther King believed peaceful methods were the best way to achieve lasting justice. Locke supported revolution only when government violated people's natural rights. Machiavelli accepted violence if it helped protect the state, while Fanon argued that violence was sometimes necessary to end colonial oppression. These perspectives show that both methods have been defended depending on the situation. Based on both philosophical ideas and historical examples, nonviolent protest is generally the more effective and lasting approach. Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. showed that peaceful resistance can bring major social and political change while avoiding unnecessary violence. Although violent revolutions have sometimes succeeded, they often lead to long term conflict and instability. Overall, nonviolent protests are more likely to achieve lasting justice, protect human dignity, and create more stable society.